for. And there's huge demand on engineering jobs, in even just work types of blue-collar engineers are in very much demand. It says that before the war, the difference between salaries between an IT guy and the steel worker was 50%. Now it's only 10% gap. Steel workers, I'm not even talking about complex hardware, tailored engineers. You if there's engineering team that will build a drone that destroys Moscow, I think everybody would want some of that at the moment, but there's still a systemic crisis in education all over the world, and if we don't deal with it, the next cycle, if God forbid there's some more war, there'll be no one to actually win it, and so there should be more money and PR invested in it, and we gotta learn and teach. It's about nation existence. So on this optimistic note, I would like to thank you for attending this. Now, thank you, Timothy, and thank you for Kiev School of Economy and the whole team for them to be co-organizing this event together to respond to such a short notice, understanding that the education doesn't exist in a vacuum, it's an ecosystem. So I'm Natalia Mikolska, I'm the executive director of the union DSCD United, co-organizer of this event, together with Kiev School of Economy. Who are we? Let's run my 2 slides of presentation on the screen. It doesn't take long, I just have to do it to clarify why we're getting together, why the Union of Tech Businesses are talking about education all of a sudden. Who we are the Union of Product-Related Tech Companies, residents of the DSCD space. What we're doing, we're working together. That's the word we like, Spilna Dia, which is a joint venture, joint effort. And all of our speakers on this panel discussions I got here to exchange ideas how to create this space so that the tech businesses in Ukraine would globally grow. It's important for us to have global mindset because Ukraine exists as a part of a big global ecosystem, and why we're talking that we are co-venturing with education, because you can't do it without education. It's a foundation. We have some 70 plus companies with us. Why plus? Because we have companies joining us every day. I, as a lawyer by background, I like fact-checking. I don't like to be erroneous, to give you a wrong number. We have MacPower, Ajax, Genesis, Gas, Net Academy, Nova Digital with us, retro-style games who are designing, developing great games, Nona Bank, MacPeat Group, Oaklawn. So there are many great product vendors. So we made a survey. We like to adapt new data sets, and so we made a survey among the DSCD residents before we run our union, before we create our union, in order to kind of gauge what problems they perceive. So the priorities, other than taxation, mobilization, and it's one of the main priorities is education and its development. So it was quite a good coverage survey. We also have among non-residents in Ukraine, and it just speaks volumes about why we believe education is so much of concern, because it is of concern for Ukrainian tech businesses. And one more important thing, let's put some screensaver. I'm not only as the executive director here from DSCD United, I'm also a mother to teenage gentlemen, 16 and 10. One of them is still studying outside of Ukraine. The other one is in Ukraine in STEM education in Basis Private School. One of them loves STEM a lot, and the other one doesn't so much. He's more into sports. But as a mother, I want my children to want to stay and learn in Ukraine, so that they would have Ukrainian universities in highest priority alongside with world-renowned universities. outside. So my mission as a person that is non-stop learning, to make everything possible for our academia to actually develop and grow and improve. So let's all of us on the outcomes of this meeting make one commitment. What each of you can do actually to improve education in Ukraine. Just one thing. Make it public, like a year commitment. And then after a year, we get together, match clocks, and see what each of us managed to commit to and deliver. And it all creates our movement forward. So the way we are working today, the agenda is begins with the keynote speaker, who is still on the way because an important meeting delayed him. We will have a business panel discussion for the businesses to say what they need in education and what business is ready to provide for education, because it's a two-way street. Not only do you demand and expect something, but you also have to deliver and to sell something. There will be an educational panel. There will be a panel discussion with private and state-owned high schools and universities. There will be a high-tech startup panel into educational projects, not school-based, not tutorship-based, but those that deal with large-scale educational projects as curriculum building for higher education. And then we also have the authorities represented by certain people here, which is a chance to communicate to them something important. We're working very high tempo. There'll be keynote speakers. Next, we don't aim to find all the answers for all the questions today. We need to ask, we need to outline those questions. Because before you start to solve something, first measure your baseline where you are and compare the needs and capabilities of businesses and education and the authorities as well as experts community. So it's a high-tempo event. Be concise, be spot on. Moderators will keep an eye on that. We have fantastic panel discussions and great speakers. If you don't manage to ask your question today, if you forward it to us or by email, we promise to get it through to give you some answer. We will also create some feedback form for that. It's just to make sure that if you don't manage to. By the way, after the event, there's networking and informal communication on the terrace here. So they told me I have 3 more minutes. So let's do a quick survey. I feel like a marriage animator. I have 3 more minutes to go, and so let's do a quick survey. How many academia or educational projects are represented here? How many of you represent businesses? How many of you represent civil society organizations? How many of you are from the media? How many of you are from the authorities, the local authorities included? So we're still working on it. So basically, if the authorities will be getting beaten for something, they might be embarrassed. It would be great for them to take a chance to speak today. So who believes I can afford talking like Timothy? I will say that high-tech education is now in a crisis. Who is in favor for that opinion? Unpopular, as I see. You see, I only raised my hand at the end so that I don't have an influence. Who believes that high-tech education is transformation, not in crisis, but in transformation? So there's also crisis to transformation, as Timothy said. Who believes that our high-tech education is on quite a normal development level and corresponds to the best benchmarks in the world? I would say it's we are at some point where we at least have to start this, and maybe it's good that we are still having some time to wait for our keynote speaker to measure our perception. Though we are all more or less understand what the challenge is. There are different opinions as to how critical it is or not, and how deep we are in the crisis in transformation, but that's the situation. And I have one more survey for you. How many of you believe that transformation of higher education, well, at the moment we are in an ideal situation, we have enough resources, and it can happen in 5 years' time? The transformation of higher education. And in an ideal world, who believes that it can take 10 years? 15 years. Now question. We are now in real Ukraine and we are at war. How long it takes to transform the high-tech education in this situation? Is it 10 years? 15 years? 20 years? Never. Well, Timothy, I'm following your steps, making everything so optimistic and lighthearted. But I think it's a good story, at least, that we have people who believe that in an ideal world, when we have enough money, resources, we can do that in 5 years. Because these are the people that are usually the drivers of that flagship of the terrain changes. Let's measure how many private, how many state-owned academia here. State-owned. And then now private academia. We have both state-owned and private in the same room. But you did invite many state-owned. These are the only ones that showed up. But some of the regions are online. Let me remind you, we have an online broadcast, all of this. We tried to invite colleagues from technological academia, from all the regions, especially frontline regions, because that's who needs most support. Part of our attendees are online. We're trying to be as inclusive as we can. But it's only, I'm reminding you that it's only the beginning of this discussion. We are not abandoning this topic. It's not in our interest. In our union, we apply product-based approach, and we